You think your body is solid? You're wrong. Your body is 99.999% empty. The ratio of the nucleus to the entire atomic volume, it's like a ping pong ball, placed in the center of a standard football field. The rest of space is filled with electrons. Crazy movement in empty space. The hard one you touched. It's not that I touched something. It's the atoms in the skin of your hands, the outer electrons, and the outer electrons of the object. Generates electromagnetic repulsion. You didn't encounter any entities. You've been dragged by electromagnetism all your life. Suspended 1 nanometer above the surface of matter. How do humans know this? The answer to this question, buried in the past 2,500 years of history. And I'm going to run this thread from beginning to end today. Dial down layer by layer. You understand after listening to the first paragraph. Listen to the last paragraph. You will reinterpret the word matter and understand your own body anew. The story begins in ancient Greece. 5th century BC. A man named Liu Jibo came up with an idea. Everything in the world is made of indivisible power. He called this thing the atom. It's Greek for uncut. His student Democritus picked up the idea. Added a particularly cruel sentence. Everything is atoms and emptiness. No one believed it at the time. Aristotle said that the world is a living ground. The water vessel is composed of 4 elements. This theory has ruled for nearly 2,000 years. The concept of the atom in the long Middle Ages, under the rock of theology. No one dares to dig. Until the 17th century, Galileo and Descartes pulled atomic theory out of the stubborn pile. But what really put the experimental skeleton on atomic theory? Events in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. First, the vacuum. He did what you did in junior high school. Experiments seen in chemistry textbooks. He added the dilute in an airtight container. Cool off before and after the heat. Thin to ashes. However, the total weight of the container remains unchanged. The law of conservation of mass was established. Then Proust proposed the law of fixed proportions. No matter how you synthesize copper carbonate, copper carbon, the weight ratio of oxygen is always fixed. Dalton joins these 2 clues together. In 1808, he introduced modern atomic theory. Each element is composed of exactly the same atoms. Chemical reactions are rearrangements of atoms. We don't even know what an atom looks like. I figured out the hydrogen by hand. The relative atomic mass of oxygen and nitrogen. It was first weighed. Prove the existence of atoms. But what is an atom? Dalton stops there. The next person to break the wall was in the 1830s. Ferrati inserted 2 electrodes into the solution to energize. Positively and negatively charged particles in solution run to the poles. Substance deposits on electrodes. He weighed it out in scales. The relationship between precipitation and current. Ferrari's laws of electrolysis tell posterity. Electricity itself is 1 by 1. Each copy corresponds to a chemical bond. Atoms are not balls. It's a charged ball. Then there was In 1869, 63 elements were identified at the time. From small to large by atomic weight. Discover chemical properties. They repeat themselves at regular intervals. He left a few spaces. Said that the elements in these grids have not been found yet, and predicted their colors. Density, melting point. A few years later, carbon carts were discovered one after another. And every single one of those was exactly what he predicted. Now, humans have come to believe that atoms are not just a bunch of balls. They have a rigorous cycle rate behind them. But what's inside an atom? This question, it was cut open by a vacuum tube in the late 19th century. Since the 1850s, physicists apply high-voltage electricity to both ends of a low-pressure gas. Find yin, urgent. Will shoot a beam of things invisible to the naked eye. He walks in a straight line, can be bent by magnetic fields. Minimal mass with negative electricity, 1897. Thomson put the mass of electrons and electricity. It worked out. Declare that atoms are not indivisible. He can be dismantled. And he came up with a model. Atoms are like a piece of raisin pudding, positively charged cake body. It owes negatively charged raisins. This model only lived for a dozen years. Thomson's student, Rutherford. In 1909, he taught 2 assistants. Did something that you sound extremely stupid. Take a bunch of positively charged alpha coefficient particles towards a piece of kimber only a few hundred atoms thick. Bake most of the particles through. A few degrees off, and a few of them were directly bounced back. Rutherford's original words were, "It was the most unbelievable thing he had ever seen in his life. Like you put a 15-inch cannonball. Hit a tissue. The shell comes back and hits you." He deduced that main hall of the atom. He and the vast majority of mass concentrate on a tiny sum. Electrons move outside this river. It's empty inside. The year was 1911. Atomic nuclei were discovered. But here comes the trouble. According to classical electromagnetism, electrons go around the river, must radiate energy, should have crashed into the river in a very short time. But atoms are actually stable. You are not a bunch of greedy particle ashes. In 1913, Bohr came forward. Plug this loophole with quantum thinking. Electrons can only travel in certain orbits. Orbital energy is split. The closer you get to the nucleus, the lower the energy. No energy is radiated in this orbit. It only absorbs or emits photons when it orbits. The Bohr model can predict perfectly spectral lines of atom clearing. You are getting closer to the truth. The Bohr model is still unexplained. Atoms with more than one electron. It also cannot explain the fine structure of atomic general lines, but it's a bridge to quantum mechanics. Thereafter, Debreu turns electrons from particles into waves. Heisenberg threw out the uncertainty principle. Schrödinger uses an equation, turning electrons into probability clouds. Dirac stuffed chivalrous relativity in antimatter predicted. Rutherford bombarded Nijmegen with a Farrick in 1919. Hit the king. He called him Jizzy. In 1932, Chadwick blows out neutrons. Atomic nuclei are made up of protons and neutrons. But protons are positively charged. They are crammed into such a small rift. Why wasn't it exploded by electromagnetic repulsion? Japanese physicist Hideki Yukawa proposed the lone theory in 1935. The combined force is transmitted by a new particle. This particle was later confirmed to be a borrowed particle. Strength and force are the strongest forces in the universe, 100 times stronger than electromagnetic force. It only works at the nuclear scale. In 1938, Hahn and Strassmann bombarding oil nuclei with neutrons. It was found to have split into two lighter nuclei, with a tremendous release of energy. And so nuclear fission was discovered. Fermi built the first nuclear reactor in 1942. Oppenheimer. 3 years later, humanity's first atomic bomb was built. Humans learned to disassemble atomic nuclei, every carbon atom in your body. Every oxygen atom, every iron atom, did not appear out of thin air on Earth. Nuclear fusion inside stars generates carbon and oxygen. Supernova explosion. Squeeze out the heavier elements into interstellar dust. Dust gathers into planets. Life grows on planets. The iron in your veins is in your blood. Hemoglobin binds to the core of oxygen. That iron atom wasn't made on Earth. He came from the death of a star billions of years ago. Explosion. You live on the legacy of a supernova. Now feel the objects around you. Just now you thought he was solid. Now you know he's empty. From the nucleus, electron cloud, electromagnetic force. Void space, jointly maintained by quantum probability waves. Your hand touched him. Not because the two entities collided. It's two electron clouds repelling each other. You've never lived in a world of food. You are living in a world, exquisite weaving of the laws of physics. Out of the hallucination, and this illusion, it's 2,500 years of people holding scales. Vacuum tube, gold foil, neutron element. The particle accelerator took it apart for you piece by piece.